good to go? Nice.
All right then. All of you out there, I see you. I'm here to welcome you to a science show. And not just any science show, an amazing science show, a spectacular science show, a phenomenal science show. This ain't your granddad's science show. Yeah, I said it. I implied your granddad went to science shows. What of it? I'm sure he's a nice man. Wayne, you want to help me out with this hole I dug here?
That was truly impressive. Okay, but you see, the gun got jumped already because I am required by the United States Department of Energy under some code, let's just say EC 49-2. We'll go with that. I'm required to show you an instructional safety video before we even truly begin the panel, before we even introduce ourselves. Because, OSHA and all that rules, right? But it's really...
Would you rather us absorb a lethal dose of radiation?
Yeah. Terrible. But it's crucial that you see this to truly understand exactly what kind of panel you've all gotten yourselves into.
Hello everyone and welcome to Physicists Invade Equestria.
Now this is a story, it's totally new about how when TGF found some news. Well, I'd like to give a lecture, Billy don't have a cow. I'll tell you how to get the Prince of Equestria now. National Accelerator Lab, that is. In West Manhattan, born and raised, I'm a pops I've spending most of my days chilling in a lab coat, looking right dope, turning some dials over the negative scopes with a couple of texts, making them quips, talking up trash about my quantum physics. I got in one little fight, now I'm no longer blank. Check it out, class, now dropping those flanks. Went to grad school, it was totally cool. Bringing some science for these radical dudes. Barrier breaking and cloud fragmentation. Top 8 honors at graduation. I got electrons, protons, neutrons too, a couple of tiles and even some news. Haters said he can't cut it, but the PhD says Colts I'm accredited.
Oh yeah, that just happened.
Remember to credit your artist's names. Very important. Speaking of artists, hey MP. Draw a tail. I don't know, draw a tail and barrier so I can throw money at you.
Alright, can you send me a reference? Should I look up a reference?
Yeah.
Where are the references?
You should have this is bad.
You keep talking.
You keep talking. We have a panel to start. It's unbelievable. All right, now I can say welcome to Physicists Invade Equestria.
The invasion has commenced.
Do you want to do your introduction first?
Of course. Hi, I'm BP, but you can call me Velma Dinkley. As is appropriate, the original cartoon nerd. I'm a physicist. I'm a graduate student working in nuclear physics right now at the Thomas Jefferson National Accelerator Laboratory in Newport News, Virginia. My current experiment is working on something called parity-violating electron scattering, trying to measure the neutron distribution in lead nuclei, which will tell us all new things about the weak nuclear force and how it totally interacts. That is my physics background. I'm here, and I'm bringing the knowledge.
Oh my God! Now stop tapping on the table.
Yes,
I'm Wayne. I work on this crazy accelerator ring that you see here. I got my PhD a while ago. I watch muons go around an accelerator and they decay, and I look at what happens. But really, what I do most of the time is I babysit electronics, and when it blows up, I fix it. So that's the real deal. When I actually found out that I got to give this panel, I was like, oh boy, what do I do? Because in principle, there are two types of physics panels you can give. I could get up here and tell you everything that's right and wrong about everything ever presented about the show. And the more I thought about that, the more boring I thought that sounded. So in my panel promises, so to speak, we're not up here to tell you what's right and wrong, because frankly, that's boring.
It's a cartoon, y'all.
It's a cartoon, yes. So that being said, I have been around the fandom long enough to know that people have their own headcanons and have thought about things probably a lot more than I have thought about them. So I am going to be respectful of what you're thinking. I'm sure everybody has thoughts. I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong. So people come up and find me, whatever, ask questions, all that junk. That's all cool, and we can all get along because friendship's magic.
Yes, ands all the way. Yes, ands from us,
Yes,
guaranteed.
And not only that, but I know this from talking to the creators of the show. They don't really think about physics when they make the program.
Though some do have a background in science.
That's true. So I'm not here to criticize the show for this thing. I'm here to have a fun time. And finally, to make this presentation, I had to make a ton of assumptions in order to get it to work. And so where I made assumptions in this talk, I have them blatantly labeled because transparency is awesome. Right? Let's do this. It's time. All right, a classic.
Number one. Number one with a bullet.
Just how fast is Rainbow Dash?
So I think this one is pretty much everywhere. I think pretty much every YouTube video that anyone has ever seen kind of starts with, oh, how fast is Rainbow Dash? And the initial takeaway is, oh, we're going to look at this Mach code, right?
The first Physics in Equestria video I ever saw was specifically talking about the Mach cone Rainbow Dash generates in Season 1, Episode 16, Sonic Rainbow.
Oh, you got the numbers down. That's impressive.
My long hours on Wikipedia are vindicated.
Oh my God. Okay, yes. The Mach cone does a great job. It tells you everything you could possibly want to know about Rainbow Dash's velocity. The thing is that I don't want to start there. I looked at the scene and I watched the video. I went back and watched the show again. And I said, it's kind of interesting that there's another leading lady in this scene. It's everyone's favorite marshmallow unicorn. Winnie Zing. Okay. So
you let that one be lobbed right down the
I
line.
did. I opened the door and it. Good job, Kraft. You're awesome. So the deal is that Rarity is actually a source of free fall in this. She starts just at rest and pretty much falls all the way to the ground until she's right before when she's saved by Rainbow Dash. So to me, that can be unbelievable, Maz. So to me, she can be used as a source to calibrate what's going on. So the first thing I did is I said, well, okay, if I look at the video, her fall begins at 2 minutes, 36 and a half seconds.
YouTube frame by frame is your friend, people.
YouTube frame by frame and quarter speed. Quarter speed is important. She passes the Cloudsdale Plain at 2 minutes and 42 seconds, and she gets saved by the amazing, phenomenal Rainbow Dash at 3 minutes and 28 seconds. All right. So the first thing I said is, well, okay. She falls for 5.5 seconds. If I say that in the world of Equestria, the acceleration due to gravity is the same as it is here, something actually pretty interesting pops out of this. And that's that her speed is really, really close to the terminal velocity for a human. And I went, well, knowing that the show creators don't think about this at all, I was like, that's amazing, right? Like, that's a pretty amazing coincidence. And after this point, it kind of looks like she actually hits the terminal velocity.
The numbers are straight out of a Dan Brown novel right now.
Yeah, Dan Brown. Oh my goodness.
This reference is not dated.
Just wait until I start integrating. Okay, we haven't even gotten there. Oh, you have no idea. So to me, it looked like she actually hit terminal velocity. So I said, okay, cool beans. I'm going to actually say 53.0 meters per second. Human terminal velocity somehow magically applies to cat horses, and then I did integration.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, quick question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay, so just to be clear, when we're talking about Equestria
Yes.
atmospheric pressure?
Oh, I'll get there. It's happening.
Okay.
It's happening. Don't you worry, it's happening. So if I do actually use math, and I find that she fell for 51.5 seconds, at the end of the day, I find that Rarity dropped an impressive 2.5 kilometers. But this is kind of where something else came up, and it was the height of Cloudsdale. Cloudsdale was at an altitude of 2.4 kilometers, and this really excited my meteorologist friend, who said, "Hey, Wayne, guess what? That's perfect for cloud formation. Like, Cloudsdale is where it should be." I know, right? You get it again. Cloudsdale is where it should be. Okay, so now we can actually talk about Rainbow Dash, because I'm sure she's getting impatient. So we can go through and we can grab all the timestamps. When she starts a rescue operation, when she passes through Cloudsdale, when she hits her magical rain boom, and when she pretty much saves everyone from certain doom. The big assumption here, and again, assumptions are clear, is that everything plays out in real time. And what I mean by that is, there are sequences in this scene where the camera view will change from watching Rainbow Dash go into her descent, and then looking up at a surprisingly not panicking Fluttershy.
Right. Like every jump cut they do is in time with what's happening.
So like what I mean is Rainbow Dash is traveling, it looks away, guess what? She's still traveling. You can make a different assumption that she kind of just pauses because the camera's not focused on her, and if you did that, you get math. It'd be different, right? Different math. So here you go, it's clear, we're good to go, awesome. Finally we can get to the mock. So I found the coolest online protractor tool ever, and it allowed me to just put this is the last frame. The next frame in the show, she's in rain boom mode. So this is like this, at least in my mind, it's as proper as you can get. But as what often happens in science, there's a little uncertainty, right? Like kind of, up in here, it's kind of hard to interpret what that actual difference in coloration is. So I said, all right, I'm gonna say this full angle is 11 to 12 degrees. Now this is actually where I saw some things in the YouTube videos that need a little bit of, I know I said I wasn't going to say right or wrong, but there needs to be a correction here. A lot of people actually take this full angle and use that to calculate the speed, and you actually want half of that. So I did.
Symmetry is your friend, people.
Symmetry is your friend. But of course, I still have one equation with one unknown, so I need to think about what the speed of sound is, and this is where the atmosphere is your friend. So yes, I made the assumption that the atmosphere of Equestria is exactly the same as the atmosphere of Earth. So thanks to CM Glee and NASA under a Creative Commons attribution, kind of getting that citation.
This is exactly what NASA intended, by the way. 60 years of space research has all built up to this pony culmination.
Illuminati confirmed.
Send it down to Cape Canaveral.
Yeah.
We're done.
So the interesting thing here is that because we used Rarity as a source of calibration, we know, well, Rainbow Dash hits the rain boom below Cloudsdale, so she's somewhere below 2.4 kilometers. So we're down. This is like so hard from like behind the screen. Can't even see. Like we're way down at the bottom here. If you can see that dot actually show up. So the end result is that I take the speed of sound to be 334 meters per second, and when I do that, I get Rainbow Dash is moving at an impressive velocity of 3.33 kilometers per second. And at this point, I go, but wait a second. Looking at those timestamps again. She traveled 11 seconds at this velocity before saving Rarity, which means she traveled 36.63 kilometers. Okay. Right. All right.
Maybe she started in the ionosphere.
This happens, right? Sometimes when we're doing actual physics, we get a result that we don't expect. Now, most times, it means that somebody didn't plug something in, or that something is broken, or there's an error that you didn't quite understand, but sometimes it can point to new physics. And that's where the fun is. So okay, possible explanations. Again, the creators just didn't care. Which we already know is true, but is the most boring of all. So that's our, people forgot to plug stuff in, let's move on.
We love our creators.
We do.
I can't take this.
I love Big Jim, we need Big Jim. Like,
Is science strange, by the way?
The other thing is that, okay, maybe the assumptions are wrong. Like, maybe the equestrian atmosphere doesn't behave anything like Earth's atmosphere, and that's perfectly fine. One of the, like, if you're a math purist in the audience, there's got to be at least one who's like, yeah, I'm an engineer, I'm a physicist, I'm a theorist, yeah, what's going on? Yeah. So, you're the one, good. So my favorite one from like a math pure perspective is to say the speed of light is actually really small. If you make the speed of light like 30 miles an hour, it kind of explains a lot. You can say, oh, everything's relativistic, and it kind of maybe explains why the rain boom is actually a phenomenon that we can observe, travel out with our bare eyes instead of just a flash, right?
Probably about 350 would be a mile per hour. Might be a little more appropriate then.
Magic does slow down the speed of light. At least
Go.
according to Sir Pratchett.
Yeah, Ron?
Sir Terry Pratchett, magic slows down the speed of light.
Yes. Well, we'll find out.
So that
It's
actually
all-
does make
it's all
sense,
compact.
considering it does take time for the rain boom to develop, and she's obviously not traveling at the speed of light. Then the rain boom happens. It's not like it's done.
Yeah.
It actually takes time. So
Yeah, so I like that one, but to be honest,
It's not
my
good.
favorite, oh wait, we have a question?
It's also been theorized that the rain boom is a magical explosion.
Well, that's also possible. There's many possibilities. There are many possibilities, many interpretations. Frankly, if I'm being really honest, my favorite one is this one. So let's just say that everything is kind of on the level here. Well, it took Rainbow Dash 21 seconds to hit the sonic rain boom from a dead stop, which means her acceleration is 159 meters per second squared, which for, those who care, that's over 16 Gs. So,
She's got to wear that pressure suit.
the ponies have some really tough fluff. They're pretty awesome. But okay, so the fun is really in how far Rainbow Dash flew. If you do the math, which is on the screen, you can read it. She traveled 71.69 kilometers. So remember when I said Cloudsail's altitude at Rarity's timestamp was 2.4 kilometers? Well, if everything's on the up and up, Cloudsail's altitude at Rainbow Dash's timestamp is 71.4 kilometers. So, yeah, in 16 seconds, Cloudsail...
More of a satellite's Dale at that point, I think.
Puns for days. So that means in 16 seconds, Cloudsail traveled 69 kilometers, which raises the question if ponies even need oxygen, but it gives the best answer possible to how fast is Rainbow Dash. My answer is, sweetie, I don't care, Cloudsail is faster.
I'm not going to high-five you for that, but you deserve it.
Yeah, what's up?
Are you implying ponies climb to space? Outrageous!
Oh my goodness. This crowd is great. Alright. What's up?
When you were doing the how far she traveled, were you assuming she was traveling at the speed of sound the entire time?
No, so I was just, so the first part I did, so I assumed, once she hits the rain boom, I assumed she's just going at a constant speed after the rain boom, but before...
Uniform acceleration.
Uniform acceleration. Thank you! See, this is why we have a grad student here, because just remember.
Head's still in the books.
Head's still in the books. How are we doing? Wow. Alright, we gotta kick it a little bit, so if people have questions, if we can
We might
wait,
be a little staring at the questions when we get through.
So, we'll be here. No, Rob, put your hand. Unbelievable. You know me. You can ask me later. Because there's another topic. Is Shiny Homer the best team?
Gold medal in the wife toss. Please don't.
I could watch this clip for days, but really it's just a buy for time.
Okay.
Let's see Patrick Mahomes do that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go. Okay. So in evaluating this absolute ridiculousness, cadence eventually flies. So if I want to care about anything, I kind of have to deal with the initial conditions in this loop. So the first thing I said was, all right, well, if I just loop this in a 3-second loop, I see that she clears the frame 18 times. So I went, all right, well, this kind of gives me an initial velocity here, which I wrote down, 18 over 3 seconds times whatever exactly that distance is. The problem is there's only one scale for distance in this entire scene, and that's kind of pixels. So it turns out there's a lot of number massaging here. And this is
High error bars.
High error bars, a very shady business. But yeah, I did some evil here. It's not as evil as the next topic, so bear with me.
The descent has just started.
Yeah, the descent is we're going off the deep end. All right, so it turns out that she travels 562 pixels in a loop, and the length of her body is 66 pixels. So congratulations, Wing. You took one unknown and converted it into another unknown. You still don't know what the length of her body is. Way to go, champ! You did it right. So
that's how you know you're progressing to the solution.
Yeah, this is how you know you're descending into madness. So it turns out after scouring infinite footage, there is this scene: a wonderful cheese sandwich standing in front of one of those. What are they called? I should know this.
Like a police.
Yeah, the police.
Board.
Yeah, it's that thing.
Yeah, that thing.
So there are many assumptions in this. Namely, there's some weird perspective thing, converting with the height of cheese sandwiches, because he's technically in front of the wall. There's another assumption that are those units feet? It actually works out really nicely if they are feet, because it means Pinkie Pie's height is 3 feet 6 inches, which for all of the fans in the audience, that is perfect cuddly height. just saying. All right. So if I do this, I find that the height of cheese sandwich is 1.4 meters, and now with some endless ratios, I know, math. Oh, it hurts. Okay. Right, but there are scenes where cheese is with Pinkie, so I can use that to convert, and then there are scenes with Pinkie and cadence, and so by taking the pixel ratios, I can take the height of cheese sandwich and make it a length of cadence. And when I do this, I find Captain Armor can throw at 56.82 miles per hour. That's great! What does that mean?
We need a comparison. I need a basis.
Yeah, we need a basis. Thankfully, the NFL posts its combine data, so I just went and I looked it up. So here's the results out of the NFL combine from 2010 to 2019, and I mean, Shiny's doing a pretty good job. 56.8, whatever I said, 82. It's written on the slide.
He could at least play first string for the Ravens.
He could, right? Hey, we'll see. Right, so he's in the falling edge of that distribution. He's doing an okay job. Of course, the real caveat here is that he's throwing his wife and not a football, which means he's throwing something 400, 500 times more massive. Great!
Thank goodness he didn't give her like a great spiral or anything.
So, I mean, when it comes to do you want Shining Armor as your QB, is he really the best QB? I mean, in terms of his strength, he can make it. He has a future, but he threw his wife into the Evil King defense against an enemy who wants to enslave an entire pony race. I'm not sure that that's a good idea.
It's an interception at least.
What's going on?
Would you say he's more fitting for college football or the NFL?
College football? I personally like college football better, so he can play college all he wants. It's all good with me.
Good at the poor decision making.
He can work on it there. Get some schooling. You know what it's time for.
I know what it's time for, and I am dreading. I'm shaking in my seat.
You should all be terrified.
We really went there.
This is bad. Okay, this is bad. We're doing it.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
This rabbit hole has been dove
For all of you in the audience with your own magic, I know there are many of you. I am not saying you are wrong. I'm not. You all thought, I've seen cool things where people have taken magic and made it economics. This is my approach. It's definitely going to come up, but first I have to do this. Why do we even try? I mean, we have the crazy necromancing goat. We have this OPOC. We have the best trolling princesses ever. We have the favorite book horse, and then whatever this one does. Okay.
Tell him he's wrong.
I know that that's a dangerous game to play. Is there someone dressed as Trixie here? Oh my God, yes!
Distraction. Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. Everything that's wonderful is what I feel when we're together.
Okay.
You deserve a high five, and you get a high five.
Now I can warn you all, I went off the deep end. Okay, so I'm showing this for two reasons. The first reason is, at the end of the day, we're going crazy. We're going into some crazy math here.
You have finally united general relativity and quantum.
Something like that, yes. Okay, so first of all, I think at the end of the day, despite all the crazy that we're about to see, the answer I get from taking this thought process is pretty easily understood in terms of just words. So we're going to see some fancy symbols, but I think at the end of the day, the takeaway is really cool. The second thing is, some people in the audience may actually want some nitty-gritty physics, and if you do, this is for you. If not, I'm sorry. Okay, so the first thing is, I'm a particle physicist. I've been dealing with muons and neutrinos forever. So when I think about how does magic work, I go, okay, well, how do particles interact? And I'm going to use that as the basis. So most people are familiar with gravity because it's kind of keeping us all in our seats. But gravity for magic is just not really all that good. It's too weak. It's actually the weakest of the forces there are. So I mean, it's like, okay, whatever. We have a necromancing goat. Gravity ain't cutting it.
Yeah, by quite a number of orders of magnitude.
So then I could say, all right, well, let's go on to the strong nuclear force. And that holds protons together, so it's pretty strong, but the problem with that is that it interacts over very, very short distance scales. So like nanometers, tenths of nanometers.
For those of you with technical knowledge, you might be familiar with the term confinement.
Yeah. So when you have ponies shooting beams out of their horns, that distance scale is a little bit too big for the strong nuclear force. The weak nuclear force,
my favorite,
is awesome. It's the best. It is the best. If you want a force
who needs parity.
Yeah, if you
in joke again.
If you want a force that is the embodiment of discord, it is the weak nuclear force. Like it is discord. It's like all the rules of the universe. Yeah, no, they don't. The weak force is just like, haha, you have this symmetry that you think is cool, time symmetry, that things act the same when you reverse time. Nah.
I'll just make myself appear completely different in a mirror as I appear right now.
Yeah.
That's your weak nuclear force.
Yeah, it's crazy. But, okay, I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that because that's way too complex. So I went, all right, electromagnetism. And I like electromagnetism because we all have our phones and our electronic devices, so we're pretty jamming. Yeah, I see your EE thumbs up over there. So we're cool with it. I like it for several reasons here. It's visual, it has light. I mean, Twilight, yeah, sparkling. Puns for days, booby, yeah, whatever. Oh my god. Don't pay me with rotten fruit. The other thing is that the electromagnetic force gives you action at a distance, which is great. And it's strong enough, so I'm jamming on it. But the other thing is radiation is fun, so yeah, let's go.
In some respects, mostly from a distance.
So, it turns out that there may be a hint just in the show, buried from season 1, and that's on Shirley's chalkboard. This has been staring in my face since I've been in the fandom, and it has always bugged me so much.
Yeah, you remember doing Maxwell's equations in 3rd grade, don't you?
Yeah.
That was completely appropriate.
So this thing really caught my attention because I know what this is. D is what's called the displacement current, and it's related to the electric field. So yes, Wing did it. He did it all. Huzzah! Okay, there's one problem. This thing is absolute gibberish. Okay, first of all, let's just take a step back from the physics for a second. This is vector calculus. Why are little fillies and colts learning about vector calculus? And I put on the philosophy hat for a bit here, and I said, okay, well, you know what would happen if we lived in a society that didn't communicate with writing? Like, what if we were just a completely spoken word communication society? I would think everything on this slide is gibberish. I would think, okay, well, whatever. So in terms of the math involved here, you generally don't touch this until you're an undergrad in college. And even then, you don't touch it much. Just like, oh yeah, this calculus exists, congratulations. The deep dive comes in when you go to grad school. Okay, so again, why are Phillies and Colts dealing with this? And so it's the culture things, right? Whereas we don't really need to understand any of this to turn on our phones and operate them. Maybe, just maybe, this is something a little bit close to home in case the topic didn't do the win. I think this is magic. But then I'm left with a problem still with this gibberish. I need to take this gibberish and make it something that I can know. So math nerding has to happen here.
Hey, look, 2 Mitches.
Yeah, haha, Mitch for days. Okay, so the reason why this is gibberish is because it's adding different ranks. And what I mean by ranks is that when you deal with vector calculus, you're generally working with 3 things. You have numbers, which I mean is just a magnitude, okay, congratulations. And generally when we see something with a dot in it like this is giving us a number. I have no idea what this triangle is, but I do know that this thing is giving me a vector, which has a magnitude and a direction. So I'm adding a vector and saying it's equal to a number, and that's just, no, you just can't do that. Now the other thing there is they're tensors, and when I thought about presenting tensors in that panel, I screamed at myself. BP said never do it.
This is where my brain came oozing out my ears.
So
that was the point of our discussion.
Yeah, so I just said, okay, it's something Larson gave wings, and then I forgot. And it flew away, and we'll just forget about it. So okay, my task here in my brain space is taking this and making it into a form of gibberish that I can actually understand. Okay, math, crazy math. Okay, here we go. We've hit the deep end. So the first thing I said is, I'm going to assume this thing over here is a number. I'm going to assume the right side up triangle is a number. And I'm going to say, well, the creators don't know what they're doing, so I'm just going to put a dot in here. And as soon as I do, I get a number. And now everything's a number, and I say, great. The epsilon and mu thing on the bottom here is actually just equal to the speed of light squared. So huzzah! It's all things I know now. I'm happy. Well, almost all things I know, because I still don't know what this diamond dotted with a crazy script D is. But then I thought, all right, we do this in physics a lot. You know, like we take a letter and we use it over and over and over again. P is momentum, it's power, polarization. I mean, you just go on and on and on and on. So maybe, just maybe, ponies are a little bit smarter than us. At least crazy physicists, they're smarter than me because they know to actually use notation that is immediately understandable. So I said, all right, this thing is actually just the same thing as the stuff on the left, but it's saying, aha, this is a magic deal. So it's just indicating right away with the language, this is magic. And so at the end of the day, I take things with triangles and I turn it into another thing with triangles. But the difference...
Great progress.
Great, wonderful progress. I know, it's just crazy. Okay, so why on earth I had gibberish and now I've just turned it into another form of gibberish? Why would I dare to show this at a panel for ponies? This is where I can take the gibberish and the crazy triangles on the page and make it something a little bit more complete. So the thing with the M is really just telling us, all right, this is the strength of the magic field source. And this equation is saying the strength of the magic field source is related to the strength of the electric field source plus some constant that I think is just everywhere. Much like in the way that if you're dealing with energies, you tack on the mass of a particle or whatever you're dealing with to like taking that into account. I think it's the same thing. I think it's just like relativity, but not. It's just a constant that's there.
I think people like the not part a bit more.
The not part. The not part, yeah. It's just there, right? So, the reason why I really like this is that once I get it into this form and I think about it in terms of magic field strength related to electric field strength, but some input power there to help things out, it kind of answers one of the crazy questions of the show, which is how do all of the creatures deal with magic? And now we have an answer. I mean, I can start with earth ponies and say, well, you know, they're not really producing much in the way of magnetic field or electric fields for that matter, but hey, they can still contribute to magic because the fancy right side up triangle is there. Pegasi have their weather magic, so they're pumping some lightning out, right? I think lightning definitely has an electric field, so you're getting a nice magic boost. And unicorns have an appendage that literally radiates, so I think we're all good to go. So I know this is like crazy off the deep end. I dumped the math into this one, but the thing that I like about it is I started with a base level process. I took that picture in the show, and just by going, okay, I need to make sense of this mathematically, I need to get it into a form that I can kind of understand, I get a conclusion that I like, and people can take it for what it is and go on their merry ways, or just be like, I have 25 pages on some other theory, and to which I say, wow, you wrote 25 pages.
Only 25?
Oh, no. You know how many I wrote? I wrote these 2 slides.
That is the appropriate length.
There we go. All right.
Someone tell the ancient alicorn theorists.
Oh, there's a question in the back.
I was wondering, do you think that the constant might have something to do with the cutie mark?
It could. I think. So I wondered if it was cutie mark. If I put tensors back in there, you can really do crazy things. But I didn't want to get into tensors because it would go even more off the deep end. But yes, cutie marks. That's a great suggestion. I didn't think about that. So you are on top of your game. Physicists! Oh God. Another one way in the back?
I've seen a number of formulas where they use a dot as a multiplication point.
Use what?
The dot as a symbol for multiplication point.
Yes.
Times b.
Yeah. So that is definitely people do use that. When we get to vector land, it's telling us that we're using a dot product, which is very similar to just saying A times B, but then you're dealing with the different directions involved and you just kind of add them back into a number. So that's the cray math there. I said cray in a panel. Oh no, I'm slipping.
You said we were descending.
Rob?
I have another theory about the constant. Since it's something that I don't believe that they know or may possibly theorize, is it possible it could be something along the lines of dark matter?
Sure. it can be whatever you want it to be. I don't know yet. I haven't gone. Actually, I did go off the deep end, but it got even more crazy, and BP yelled at me, so I didn't put it in. Yeah, he was like, no, don't do that. So
Do we want to just open the floor for questions?
Well, we have one more. Can we slip in one more? And then all right.
All right, now we'll open it.
And then it was just talking about being a physicist, which was boring compared to this anyway. So all right. So to make us all like detox from what I just showed, stare at this cute wing cone dressed as a cat with an Oreo, and let all of that magic nonsense escape from your minds.
Yes.
We're good? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Equestrian astronomy.
A question from episode 1.
Where's Luna? 1 star.
So
Space isn't real.
how do we reconcile this when we have this? And when we have this, and okay, I'm as a physicist, I'm very confused. So first of all, it kind of looks like Twilight was already on top of this. Now, before I go even crazier, quantum mechanics is canon. Yes, yes.
Schrodinger?
Yes, it's canon. Quantum mechanics is in. Where I don't know what any of, I don't know why there are muffins and flowers, but you know.
I distinctly remember this episode, and I remember the moment my heart stopped.
My heart stopped too. It was beautiful. I got sparkly eyed in the movie theater. It was great. Okay, so in case anyone didn't realize this one already, the Princess powers make for some crazy science. So we can think about it, or you can go run off and make fanfics. Oh god, there's so many. Let me get through, and then we'll talk. This one won't take nearly as long. Okay, so one possibility is gravity just doesn't exist. I'm not sure Rainbow Dash was down for that one. So okay, is it different? Well, you know, the tough sell there is we did that whole thing with Rarity Falling, and Rarity Falling looked pretty good. That looked very close to what we expected. So Big Jim came on my stream, and we had a nice chat, and I went over and said, hey, Big Jim, I'm giving a panel on BronyCon. Can I ask you a weird question? And he said, yeah, sure, Wayne, what's up? And I'm like, are you all flat earthers? And the first thing he said is, well, I don't know. And I just shook my head and sighed. Okay, so let's be real. This one kind of just doesn't fit very well. We see in this Pinkie Pie scene that space is looking pretty cool. It's kind of like how we see space today, except for the fact that Saturn, or the equivalent of Saturn, has a smiley face on it. But that might be more Pinkie's doing than anything else.
It does have a hexagon.
It does have a hexagon. All right, so what can I do here? Okay, well, maybe Celestia and Luna don't actually do what they say they do. Maybe it's all about just rotating the planet. I mean, there's this nice little thing in here that suggests rotation. It even suggests that the planet is round and not a disk because it's producing a magnetic field. Again, magic is electricity confirmed. All right, so the problem with this is that they literally say Celestia can move the sun, and I died. I said, all right, great. They hugged and wept for me. Kepler's laws are toast. I'm done. I just need to accept it and move on with my life. Astronomy is broken. Life's an enigma. They can just move anything they want, and possibly they must be the most powerful ponies ever.
You just have to sigh and walk into that sunset.
Yeah, I just have to.
Beautiful music just swells.
I have to be done. I'm almost done, guys. Just let me get done. We're almost there. Almost there. A few more. Okay, so if they're the most powerful ponies, how powerful are they? Okay, there are many assumptions here. Like, they have perfect control over their forces, they can apply their magic and push the sun and the moon at direct perpendicular angles to make the sign go away. What they're doing is that they're taking the thing and moving it from rest to the angular speed that we all know and love to make one revolution per day. That's what I did here, right? So, okay, during that wonderful scene of the summer sun celebration, it took 2 seconds for Celestia to get the sun ramped up from still to move it to where it needed to be. And I said, okay, that's great. What's the force she put on the sun? And the answer was 1.1 times 10 to the 37 newtons. For those of you who aren't familiar with scientific notation, 10 to the 6 is a million, 10 to the 9 is a billion, 10 to the 12 is a trillion, 10 to the 37 is insane.
1.1 followed by 35 zeros.
So I said, all right, okay, what do I do? So I said, okay, Luna, come and like bring us back to sanity here. It took her 2.75 seconds to get the moon ramped. I'm making the same assumptions that I did, and I find that she puts a force on the moon of 7.5 times 10 to the 26 newtons. And I cried a little bit because the whole snaps.
It's full 10 orders of magnitude.
So, how exactly does this compare? Well, okay, so a croc bite is 35,000 newtons. An airbag deploying in a 100-kilometer Cape Beach craft is 100,000 newtons. The thrust produced by the Saturn V at liftoff is 35 million newtons. Okay, we're still nowhere near that. The gravitational force between the Earth and the average person, 784 newtons. The Sun and the Moon, 2 times 10 to the 20. The Sun and the Earth, 3.54 times 10 to the 22. The Sun and the galactic core, 2.25 times 10 to the 32. Celestia is still trouncing that by a factor of 10,000. So when it comes to equestrian astronomy, go for it. Do what you gotta do.
She's a supermassive black hole.
So all I can say when it comes to equestrian astronomy is, how does this happen? What is going on? They are trolling us all. They are just trolling us all. Alright, so here's the deal. Opening ceremony starting in 12 minutes. I'm going to skip through this crazy being a physicist. Oh wait, we can look at people what they think I do, what I actually do, blah, blah, blah. If you're inspired to be a scientist, the key takeaway here is there's more to physics than just being a physicist. We love journalists, we love engineers, we love people who build things, we love folks who can talk to politicians. If you're interested in communication, we also love you, and if you're great at finding money, you're our friend, right? So keep that in mind.
If that's your talent, I might just marry you.
Yeah. So, thank you all for coming. This was crazy, like packed house, I love it. If you want to ask questions, feel free to just come up once I finish this little spiel. I've been coming to BronyCon since 2013, so it's meant a lot to me.
It has been a pleasure and a half. You have been wonderful. Go enjoy yourself.
Have a great last ride, and get out of my panel and use Celestia Blessed Hippies. Oh, how much money do I need to throw at you? Respect your artists.
Oh my.
Oh, you're not finished? Oh, that's cute.
Is that tail?
Yeah, it's tail.
That is, I'm going to die.